Welcome to the Ultimate Quilting video. I hope to take some time with you ladies today and show you exactly how to cut a perfect quilt. Now, I have been at several trade shows all across the country, and I've done demonstration, and many of you ladies have possibly seen the demonstration. The problem with the trade show setting is you have a limited time to take in so much knowledge. A typical demonstration can take anywhere from 3 to 5 minutes, including all of our products, and it doesn't really give you the in-depth detail of what you really need. Now, please forgive me. I'm not tooting my own horn by saying this, but typically I get paid thousands of dollars for speaking engagements to teach quilters of all kinds, beginners, intermediate, and expert quilters, how to quilt. So what we're planning on doing with this video today is we're going to take each piece and every single part of the cutting system and break it down thoroughly, so you have a lot more time to not just see the product work, but also to understand how the product works. So please, I hope you enjoy this video as much as I'm going to enjoy this video on educating you on being the ultimate quilter. The first product that I would like to share with you is the Martelli Ergonomic Rotary Cutter. This by far is our marquee product. This is how everybody has come to know the Martelli brand. If you look at the cutter, it's shaped a little bit differently than any other cutter on the planet, okay? It's a true ergonomic design. The true meaning of ergonomic means natural. Now, I'm here to tell you, I will never ever put down another company or their products. However, I will do some comparisons so you can see the difference of what has been on the market and the innovation that has come about to the current days of quilting. Now you're going to see two rotary cutters right here, this being the Martelli. The Martelli has a curved handle, and this, for lack of better terms, is a pizza cutter, okay? It's a stick with the blade at the end of it. Now, getting back to the true meaning of ergonomic means natural. So the first thing I want to do is show you how to correctly hold the Martelli rotary cutter and how this is ergonomic. And no matter what other cutters claim, whether they have ergonomic on the package or not, doesn't necessarily mean it's ergonomic, okay? Now, picking up any other rotary cutter, pink, blue, yellow, black, doesn't matter what color the rotary cutter is, even if it has a curved handle. It's a stick basically with the blade at the end of it. Now, getting to the meaning of ergonomic, meaning natural. The first thing, using any other cutter in the world, the very first thing I have to do is I have to pick it up, and in order to cut, I have to turn this blade. So the second I manipulate my hand, that no longer becomes ergonomic. So again, every rotary cutter in the world, even if it has a curved handle, they call the curved handles an ergonomic rotary cutter. That's not the case for this reason. Pick it up, and the first thing we have to do is what? Watch right here. Turn the blade. I've just manipulated my hand. By manipulating my hand, it no longer becomes ergonomic. Now to the Martelli rotary cutter. Now, without manipulating my hand at all, I want you to watch something. What I have done differently is I've already turned the blade for you. You have to pick it up and you have to turn this, and my blade is already turned for you. So now that we understand that Martelli is the only truly ergonomic rotary cutter in the world, now I'm going to show you how to open it and close it, and I'm going to show you how to use it properly, especially when using rulers and templates, okay? So I'm going to set a traditional rotary cutter over here to the side. And right now I'm going to pick up the Martelli. So the first thing I want to do with the Martelli rotary cutter is I want to show you how to hold it, okay? Your pointer finger goes directly on top of the blade, just like this, okay? Your thumb rests right underneath your index finger, okay? And then you want to grip the handle. Now, everybody has a tendency to grip the handle differently. I'm going to show you how to always have the proper hand position with this cutter. And it's really, really simple. I'm going to ask you at home to pick up your rotary cutter and open it and close it 10 times. What that's going to do is that's going to ensure the proper hand placement on the cutter at all times, making sure that you're using this properly, okay? So, holding it like we just discussed. Pointer finger on the blade, rest the thumb gently underneath it, and what I like to typically do is line my knuckles up with the very end of the rotary cutter. So let me give you a couple good shots. There's one right there from that angle, there's one from the front, and there's one from this side. Now, When you open and close it 10 times, some people, sometimes when they open it, it hits their finger and they jump real quick because they don't know it hit them. That means your hand is too close, okay? So move your hand back a little bit. So open and close it 10 times, and you want to open it until that red blade guard right there clears your finger. So watch very carefully right here as it doesn't touch my middle finger. Watch. See how it opened right up? Okay, so now we're going to open it up. And I'm going to close it 2 different ways to give you 2 different angles to show you the proper way to close it. And the reason why I'm doing this is if you decide that you want to use 2 hands operating a rotary cutter, then you can possibly be exposed to the blade. So I teach highly against that, okay? So watch this. I'm going to open it. I'm going to take this red lever right here with my middle finger, and I'm going to pull it back to myself. Now you have to remember, this is spring loaded. So you don't have to force or try to fight it to go back. You just gently push it back. So once again, open it and close it. Now I'm going to show you the back side, how to open it and close it. Open it. Now I'm going to turn this over. Remember, all with the same hand. Again, I'm going to take my middle finger off right here, and I'm going to push it back towards myself. No matter how you do it, when you close it, always pull that lever towards yourself, okay? So I'm going to do it just a couple times, but I want you to do it 10 times at home, okay? Open it, close it, open it, close it, open it, close it. What that does, that ensures the proper hand placement on the rotary cutter at all times. It shows you how to open it, and it shows you how to close it. Now we're going to learn how to cut properly. Now I'm going to set this down for a minute. This is very, very important, and this is some of the stuff that you cannot take home with you when you're at a trade show. It's in-depth detail on the proper way of cutting. Now, I'm going to go ahead and share this with you. Without a doubt in my mind, after doing this 14 years, I have become an absolute professional. There is a proper way to cut and an improper way to cut. And because of the tools that you are currently using, if you're not using Martelli tools, you're not cutting properly. And let me show you a little bit what I'm talking about. Now, typically when we cut, we can do some free cutting. We can do some free layers. We might do a little bit of design work, but a lot of times we use templates or rulers. So I'm going to grab a ruler, and then I'm going to show you how we use our rotary cutter with the ruler, and then I'm going to show you how you use a traditional rotary cutter with the ruler, and I'm going to show you how different it is and why you get those little quote-unquote nicks in your blades. Now, before I do any cutting, let me explain to you very thoroughly. There is no such thing as a nick in the blade. I'm going to show you by cutting with both rotary cutters exactly what's happening and what's causing it, okay? The first cutter that I'm going to use, obviously, is the Martelli rotary cutter. So I'm going to open it. I'm going to come right here, and I'm going to cut a piece of material. So now that I can use it on a ruler. So now I'm going to set this material right here, just like this. Now I'm going to come grab a ruler. Now, I want to show you a couple things, and I want you to notice this very, very thoroughly, okay? The placement of my ruler in relation to my body is to the outside of my body. My shoulder's on the outside of my body, therefore I put my ruler on the outside of my body. Now, if you're not using the Martelli equipment, you can't do that for this reason. This is what the quilting world teaches you. When your ruler slides all over the place like this, what you have to do is they tell you to put the ruler in the middle of your body, just like this, okay? And then they tell you to apply all your weight as hard as you can, like this. Some people do it like this. I love the inchworm, the wiggle worm technique as you move it up. All that, you have to do that with the tools that you're currently using. It's very dangerous, number one, but most importantly is you're destroying your blades every time you make a single cut. Now, the proper placement for your ruler when you cut is not in the middle of your body. It's on the extreme outside. Now, when I say extreme outside, here is your hip right here. Your ruler and your cutter should be on the outside of your hip. And the reason for this is your shoulder's on the outside of your body. Now, I'm going to do a little bit of comparison of what you do and what we do, okay? Notice my ruler's on the outside of my body. Most importantly, notice this. My ruler never slips and never slides. It locks. The second you apply any down pressure to my ruler, to any mat, it will lock the ruler. Now, with that being said, the ruler's on the outside of my hip. I'm going to open right here. I'm going to put slight pressure on the ruler because the ruler never slides. Now, I want you to see my arm angle in comparison to my body to the ruler. Everything is perfectly straight up and down. There's no angle on that blade. Everything is straight. I apply light pressure here, and watch my finger right here. I'm actually going to take my finger right here, and I'm going to actually cut towards my ruler. Now, you're hesitant to do that with the equipment that you have now in fear of that blade is going to jump the ruler and possibly get your fingers. But I'm here to tell you, if you use the Martelli rotary cutter and you use it the way that I'm teaching you right now, it is impossible for this blade to jump that ruler. Now watch this, and I'll explain that in a minute. So I'm going to slightly hold my ruler right here. I'm going to take my finger and slightly turn it towards my ruler. Watch right here. There, straight. Turn it slightly towards my ruler, and I'm actually going to cut towards my ruler. Now when I cut, the only thing I get is a perfect straight line. Notice I never got the little veer off like everybody tends to get. Now, that's the proper way of using the Martelli rotary cutter. Now, let me share with you what you're doing at home if you do not have my tools now, and why it can be so dangerous, and why it's not working. I'm also going to explain to you why you might, if you're lucky, get one project out of a blade before your blade starts skipping, and why I get 3 to 5 years per blade. Now, please bear with me. I will never tell you something that I can't physically show you. And also, if I tell you something that does not make sense to you, then don't do it. But everything that I share with you that I've been teaching for 14 years, from beginners to expert quilting, it makes perfect sense to them, and that's why everybody's adapting. So now we've seen how to use the Martelli rotary cutter. Now let's go back to the way that you traditionally do it now if you do not have my tools. Here is your ruler that slides all over the place. So the first thing you have to do is you have to put all your weight on it, just like this, not to get it to move. Now, I'm going to get your traditional rotary cutter. Now, I want you to pay close attention to this, okay? Now, my shoulder's on the outside of my body, okay? It's not on the inside of my body. So I'm taking something that belongs out here, and I'm going to bring it from here to here. Now, I want you to look at this picture, and I want you to tell me what's wrong with that. Now, this is the great part. I'll have a lot of women say, Dave, I don't do that. Now, let me share with you. I'm going to over-exaggerate a little bit what you do, but I promise you, it is not you, it's the tools that you're using. You have to do this. And to prove my point to you, I'm going to ask you a question, and I want you to think about this to yourself right now watching this video. Have you ever tried to cut a straight line with the ruler, and at the end of the cut, it never seems to cut straight, it wants to veer? If you're right-handed, it wants to veer to the right. If you're left-handed, it wants to veer to the left, for this reason. And then I'm going to try to give you an analogy to help you understand this process. So now, I'm holding the ruler in the middle of my body, and I'm trying to cut right here. Now, when I cut, the problem with this is that blade's at an angle, so when I get to the end, the blade wants to travel on me, okay? Now, let me show you this real quick, okay? You can see it's already got that little nick right there. Okay, this is how a blade operates, okay? A blade operates like this. A blade is made out of very thin metal. If it wasn't, it wouldn't cut. That's why it's called a razor blade. So a blade comes down like this, and it comes to a true point. So when you take that point and you turn the point, for example, when you take that point, and that point is supposed to be straight up and down, and you turn it ever so slightly, you're no longer using the sharpest part of the blade. If you're not using the sharpest part of the blade when you're cutting, and you're pushing down and it's not cutting, logically, I want you to think about what you have to do to get it to cut. You have to push harder. The harder you push, the more you're taking a thin metal edge and you're bending it. Now, think about this. This is common sense. If a blade is made out of metal and you're putting uneven pressure on thin metal, either this way or this way, you're taking that thin metal edge and you're bending it. So now, I'm going to use my cutter real quick because I want to show you something. Well, actually, the cut that I just made with this rotary cutter right here. Now, it was only 3 or 4 layers, but did you see the little nick? Did you see the little quote-unquote nicks it has? That's not nicks that's caused that. It is a bent blade. That's why you typically get one project out of a single blade and you have to keep changing it. And this is my favorite thing when I hear it. The women will come to me, oh yeah, my blade's got nicks in it. Please listen to me very carefully when I explain this to you. They're not nicks. They have never been nicks, nor will they ever be nicks. I'm not saying that you have never ever hit a pin, but let me ask you a question. Every single time that your blade starts skipping, do you actually remember hitting a pin? Well, the answer is no. The reason why you don't remember is because you did not hit a pin every single time. Now, this will help sum it up for you and show you very clearly what I'm talking about, okay? So I'm going to come back to the Martelli rotary cutter, and I want to cut a little tiny piece of fabric. And you're going to say, Dave, what are you going to do with the little piece of fabric? Okay? Here's a little tiny piece of fabric. I'm going to show you how important it is to cut on the outside of your body, which with the traditional rotary cutter, you can't. Because you can't, that ruler has got to stop sliding. The only way you can hold that ruler is by putting all your weight in the middle of your body. But if your ruler doesn't slide, I want to show you something. Here is a blade. Now I'm not holding this right, but I want you to understand the process behind this, okay? Actually, let me get it a little right here so you can see it a little bit better, okay? Here is a blade straight up and down, okay? I'm going to slightly turn my blade. I turn my blade less than a 1/16 of an inch thick. I want you to watch my fabric right there. Okay? Again, watch my fabric. The fabric is moving, but it's not cutting. I'm going to do it several times so you can see. Now, same thing. I'm going to straighten my fabric out like I had it originally. The only thing I'm going to do differently is I'm going to hold that blade perfectly straight up and down. Now watch my fabric. Did my fabric move 1 inch? No. In order to use the blade properly, the blade has to be straight. Now, using a traditional rotary cutter, I'm telling you why that's not happening. And I'm going to reiterate this. Remember, this is not a promotional video. This is that video that gives you the knowledge that you're not able to take home at a trade show because you have 3 to 5 minutes to take in all this information that you'll never remember. This is a valuable, valuable DVD, and that's why this is called the Ultimate Quilter. Once again, let's just go over it one more time. Traditional rotary cutter. Ruler slides all over the place. The first thing you have to do is you have to keep that ruler from sliding. So the quilters teach you to hold the ruler in the middle of your body. That is wrong. Absolutely wrong. Do not do that. When you hold the ruler in the middle of your body, you have to take your blade that belongs perfectly straight up and down, and you have to bring your blade this way. The further you bring your blade to the middle of your body, the more that blade is at an angle. The more the blade is at an angle, the more you're not using the sharpest part of the blade, so the harder you have to push to make it cut. Understand, when I use the term they, I'm talking about the quilting industry. They teach you, when you buy a rotary cutter, do not cut paper, do not cut cardboard, do not use it for scrapbooking, only use it on fabric because you're going to destroy the blade. I'm here to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that is not the truth. Okay, here's the Martelli rotary cutter, okay? I'm going to open it. Well, before I do that, this is cardboard, okay? Here's some regular cardboard, and here's some more cardboard, business cards. You have to understand, this is a non-woven material. It's like cutting a picture. It's like cutting cardboard. It's the same thing they tell you not to do. Now watch this. I'm going to open this right here. Now I'm going to come cut this cardboard, and I'm going to cut it a lot so you can get a really good bird's eye view what's going on here. Okay, there's cardboard. Now here's some business cards. Here's 2 layers of business cards, okay? Now, when I'm done, I'm going to take a piece of fabric right here, and I'm going to set that fabric just like this. Now, I want to show you something. If you would have took your traditional rotary cutter, and you would have cut that cardboard, and then you would go back and cut your fabric, it would not cut. It would leave little tiny skips. Now, I'm not holding this in the proper cutting position, but I do want you to understand and realize how little pressure I'm putting down. There's a piece of fabric. Now watch my blade. I'm barely going to push. Look at the cut. Do you see that clean cut? That's with little to no pressure whatsoever. This is where it gets a little bit technical, and if you understand this, it's going to revolutionize the way you quilt, okay? So follow me. Martelli rotary cutter. I use direct down pressure on top of the blade, in the middle of the blade. There's the blade right there. So I'm in the middle of the blade on top. I'm using my whole hand to cut with, okay? You ready for this? I'm going to take a traditional rotary cutter. Now, before I pick this up and show you, I want to share this with you. You can ask any doctor on the planet. This is medically proven. You have 16 pressure points in your hand. You can throw a frisbee, you can do, wash dishes, whatever it is that you do, you have 16 pressure points in your hand. When you hold the Martelli rotary cutter, I'm using my whole hand to cut with, my whole hand. Okay? Now I'm going to pick up a traditional rotary cutter. I'm going to open it. Now I'm going to pick it up and I'm going to turn it. Where's all my pressure coming from? I want you to get a good side view. My pressure is coming from behind the blade. Not only is it coming from behind the blade, my finger is on one side of the blade. It's not in the middle of the blade. So not only am I using indirect pressure behind the blade, I'm also only using one finger, whether you cut like this or whether you cut like this. And bless your heart, some of you ladies. I've seen some of you ladies out there that live for quilting, and your poor fingers right here, they actually, where you put all that pressure down from arthritis, tendonitis, or carpal tunnel, whatever the case may be, this finger right here points in a completely opposite direction of where the rest of your finger points. So what we have between the two rotary cutters is I have an ergonomic rotary cutter here designed to use the proper position and pressure on the blade, and then I have a traditional rotary cutter. This was great in 1947 when they first came out with the cutting tool. There has been no innovation in this industry since. So that is the big difference in rotary cutters. Now, we've probably sold well over 1 million rotary cutters, and I want to share this with you. 9.5 times out of 10, I'm at a trade show, and my customers sell my products for me. I'll be making a statement talking about how great our cutter is, and a customer, I have that, I love that. I never have changed my blade, or I've had my blade in there for 4 years. I'm allowed to tell you, if you use my rotary cutter, what I am allowed to tell you is 3 to 5 years, okay? Other rotary cutters, maybe a project. Now here's what's going on, and here's what's a little bit different. You remember I showed you the placement of the ruler? They teach you, again, they quilters, they teach you to put the ruler in the middle of your body, and then they teach you to bring your rotary cutter to your ruler. It is completely opposite. And I'm going to say this, and I want you to repeat this in your head, okay? Never bring your rotary cutter to your ruler. Always bring your ruler to your rotary cutter. And this is the reason. You have two shoulders that's on your body. Your shoulders are actually physically on the outside of your body. So when you take something that is designed to be on the outside of your body right here, and you bring it on the inside of your body, the blade has to angle. Now, this is how I'm going to prove it to you, okay? Everything is nice and straight right here. See, everything's nice in a straight line right here? I'm not even going to take that off the mat. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take my body, and I'm going to take a half a step to my right, and I want you to watch what happens to this blade right here. Are you ready? That slight movement towards the middle of my body where I typically hold my ruler as a quilter using other rulers, look what happened to my blade. So when you constantly keep cutting down at different angles like that, you're putting uneven pressure on that thin metal edge, you're bending it. When you bend the blade, that's how you get this right here. Now, I'm going to ask you a question when I'm done with this, because I want to know if you understand what I'm saying. Okay, this is what we've discussed. It cuts there, it cuts there, it cuts there. There's a quote-unquote nick there, nick there, nick there. Now, my question to you, is your blade dull when it does that? The answer is absolutely not. If it cuts there and it cuts there and it cuts there, that blade is still sharp as all get out. If it doesn't cut there, that doesn't mean it's dull there. When you put uneven pressure on a thin metal blade, it bends. It's metal. Once you bend that blade, it does not bend back. There is not a single quilter in the world that has ever used a traditional rotary cutter that has ever thrown away a dull blade. You will damage your blade before it ever gets dull. So why do I get 3 to 5 years out of a blade? And why do you get one project? Does it have anything to do with the sharpness of the blade? The answer is absolutely not. It has everything to do with the design of the rotary cutter and where you're putting the pressure in relation to the blade. It has everything in the world to do with that. Now, I spent a lot of time explaining the rotary cutter to you, how to hold it, how to open it, how to close it, how to use it properly in the proper cutting position. There are people out there, and the second I put it in their hand and I show them, do not cut in the middle of your body, scoot over 6 inches, they come back to me the next year I'm at the trade show and they say, Dave, it's unbelievable. It's a completely different process. You have to understand something, ladies and gentlemen. We are an invention company. I just don't think of, hey, what can I bring to the market new this year where I can make money? I will never bring a product to the market unless there is a need for it. That's the only way we come up with products. That's why we came up with the rotary cutter. It's revolutionary. So when I teach you the proper cutting position, when you have my equipment or my tools, go home and use it. The production of your rotary cutting will be unbelievable.